as well as flexible. Now the back brace is on here in order to protect my back and to give me a way to let my back lay back and relax. Because the first year I had this, I was sitting there and I would get like this. I would get an S-shaped spine. I'd be like, I can't stand it. I would have a back brace from like heavy lifting. I'd be like, 1 hour, let me out. Go somewhere and let me out. Seriously, it hurts. So again, my father came like, why would you put a back brace in there? I'm like, why did I think of that? So he gets a piece of wood, he sticks a back brace in there, and lo and behold, no more back problems. Because right here, you have to have back support for your lower back, because when you sit down, it arches back. And you have nothing right there to push you up. If you have weak back muscles, they continuously hurt you. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll show them this. I can show them after we get in more in detail. Okay, now on the scooter, the batteries. Like I said, the batteries weren't working. What I did is I went to Sam's Club and I bought 2 deep cycle marine batteries, 12 volts, 24 amps, 2400 amps. Oh yeah, this is already on YouTube and the internet. I had people already trying to copy my ideas. But basically, a wheelchair or a little electric scooter with a frame on top of it with some little parts is however you want to do it. You can make it extremely light or medium weight or super heavy. In my case, I went with medium weight because I had an electric wheelchair because I had to have something to carry my big body around. Because I'm 200 and something plus pounds and I had to be able to move around quickly. Now then, thank you, James. I will. By the way, this is 12-pound test plates chain from like the Lowe's. Oh, another trick, the belt. When you're big as me and you're tall, and you put it in the chair, your legs automatically begin to bow out. Now, eventually I was pushing the panels out, so what I did, it was in my home belt, this time I put another belt. I put the belt around my legs and I just have them put my legs push against the belt, but close enough for me to be next to it, but not enough for me to push them out. Also, another thing, with my wheelchair, I'm driving it backwards actually. I reversed the drive cables because they was easy enough. You just pull them out and pop them back into the motor. And lo and behold, the circus didn't care. I just drive this thing backwards. The big wheel, drive wheels in the front, steering wheels in the back. And I went ahead and repurposed the foot pedals, and I was able to recut them and replace them using the original bolt holes with some new screws, new washers. And I just rest my feet on there, and there's my batteries. Now then, moving on. Because I'm sure others want to come here and relax. I'll go ahead and show you guys the rest of the build photos so we can go into some more Q&A. Right here you can see the dog in its pre-skeletal form. We got the rib cage, the rings, the dome. Now here's the dome on some ball bearings, which allows the motor right there to move it around with some potentiometers and a little joystick up here. And this all hinges on what you just saw. There's layers. And it's all being glued together and held together. And this also helps if you have someone with a workshop. Now, moving on, as you can see here, here's the skinny man that I told you about. Now, in my case, I used the paper and I cut it all together and I cut it, and here's the rings. Now, if you use the plastic, you use the gun box, as you can see here, I have some cutouts of the plastic. Take that plastic into consideration when you cut out the gun box, because when you make the template, that's one solid piece. When you put it in there, you get like some help, and you have someone hold a pen, and you have them go along the edges, and then you go ahead and cut it, and then you put some plastic in there and cut off some excess. Or adjust it when you do this half of the build, and you cut off some wood here and make it a little bit shorter. So when the plastic's on there, it perfectly fits nice and snug. Plus or minus a little bit of gap right there. Now up here you can see the Dalek ice-lock mechanism with the servo, potentiometer, which allows me to control it with the joystick right here, which allows me to turn the left, right, up and down. And you can use, like I said, you can go bounce like that and use a circuit like that, or you can just use a simple cable and stick system and just move around mechanically. If you're planning to leave, feel free to grab the paper up front if you want to have access to important information, how to download the blueprints, as well as the blueprints for K9 from the K9 Builders Club. With that one, you have to sign in from a member, and then after a day or two, you get a response back, and you can access the full blueprints from the builders actually building a full-size K9. Now, here's a cool trick with these lights. These are actually LED Christmas lights. Bought street Christmas lights, cut off the end of the wire, cut off the resistors. With my dad's help, we rewired them with more powerful resistors and put them all in series. And this is how bright they were before we put bigger resistors in there. They were so bright, and the LEDs, well, were being so cheap, they could not handle the full power that we were giving it. Too much power! Overload! 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 There's the Transformers parody for you guys. Now, as you can see, the LEDs are long wood and they're super bright. Now, what I did in a later version, I put like white plastic that allowed me to diffuse the light. So, okay, if you have a bunch of LEDs and they're directional, you can have them in any direction and they'll be like a flash, and they'll be like a car beam, be like a big spot on the wall. What you gotta do is when you have a couple of them together, you get like that clear white plastic foam you get when you ship stuff, and it diffuses the light and bounces it all over the place. So what happens, it's being diffused, you get it all diffused, and it gets just one big solid light beam. Alright, okay, this will be the last photo I show you guys, and then I think we'll probably go to more into Q&A. Okay. Now right here you can see the Dalek rings, the half of the show that I've made here, which is, by the way, the easiest thing to make actually. What you need to do is you get a yardstick, put a needle on the end of it, dead center of a 1-inch mark, put tape on it. And you take your paper, your poster paper, maybe you put like 4, 5, 6 sheets of it taped together. And then you put the needle on the end, you put on the end of it, we're using some sticky putty. You find out what number you want for what number you're looking for, and basically the height and the width of the circle, the width of the circle. And thank you, circumference. And you put it inside the carpet, and you just let it sit there, and it becomes a compass. It becomes a giant compass, and you go. So when you get then you take into account your width and your thickness, and you put it on the other side. And when you cut it out, it'll perfectly shape. It'll become a perfect cone shape, which is curved, as you can see right here. Right there, it's curved. It's a curved, straight strip, and you just pop it onto your cylinder, which is a hemisphere, and that becomes your thing here. And then you got your little high stop, and your motors, and your geometer, and a bunch of steel support structure. Which, by the way, the blueprints does not include. You have to buy a separate book for that, which I did not want to do because I was smart enough to build my own. I just went ahead and built a support structure, which was separate to it. These guys just slip right on top like a glove. And the main steel wood structure supports all this heavy weight up top and allows it to move with all the important gears and all the support structure. Alright, that pretty much concludes. Oh yeah, I'll get you this sweater right here. Here's the gun box with some skinning, all the hemispheres, and some fabric. By the way, this is staged fabric. This is actually regular black cloth that you can stretch out. It's an old theater trick. And actually used in the original series. It's actually black cloth, like a cotton silk or cotton nylon blend. And if you go to the Romance Fabrics, you take it to the light, and you can basically see. I have a friend who, I had the weirdest looks at me when I was in the store. People staring at me and asking, "What are you doing?" Because I would get it up, I would get the fabric, and put it over my head, and I would cover the back of my head. I would look at the lights. I would look outside. I would say, this one's too thick. It doesn't have enough stitches. Okay, next third count. Too thin. There we go. It was thick enough for me to see, thin enough for me to see through it, but thick enough that when I had cover perfectly around me, no one could see me. But what I did in later versions, which I did for the upgrade, I bought black aluminum window mesh, and I had to force it into shape, and I glued it onto the inside of my stocks, my structures. That way, it's kind of more like the original series, and it makes it hard for people to see me. As well as the downside that anything metallic in there, which you can see right there. When you take a picture, everyone sees it, and that annoyed the crap out of me. So I spent 2 days making new parts. But either way, so up here you have more mechanism and all parts. Alright, so where's that photograph? Oh, here's an open panels layout of how the parts get all open. So here's you got the internal rib cage. And here's my support structure, right? There's the wheelchair and the bolts, and these are removable wing nuts, which allows me to take the skirt off whenever I transport it. And basically, in the wheelchair, the wheels stick out, so you gotta take into account when you build the bumper, and you just basically go ahead and cut the panels out. Now, what I did, since I had a cantilever system, I cut these wrong by accident, which was actually a benefit. I was able to cut brand new ones, cut them to shape, so give this room, this piece here, room to allow it to pull out with the piece on, with the strip of nylon, strip of black vinyl, with the cotton backing, and I glued it in place, and that allowed it to open and close, and no one would be the wiser. Oh, here, this is the last one I want to show you guys. Here is the upper structure with the dome, in which I originally had a hinge up here and some chains to hold it up. And here's some of the pipes that I use to hold the dalek lights up, which are screwed on, or in my case, I have them, they slip in place, because they're the Walmart brand. And here's the reverse gear motor. You can get EPO, or use whatever gear motor you want. It's strong enough, of course. And in the later version, I have a spring here that's adjustable, and that counterweights the weight of the eye stop. Now, when you do this, you have to make sure it's balanced, like a teeter-totter. If it's perfectly balanced, and you have just a medium strong, but if it's balanced, and it's counterbalanced because of the weight, you can buy a medium strong strength motor, and it will be able to manipulate the eye stop up and down, and if it's geared, it will have enough torque to force it in the direction you want and go back and forth. In my case, since I had a potentiometer, which would tell me where it was, when it was, I set it up through analog wiring to tell me on the joystick, be here, be there, be this, do that. But what I did to give some cushion to protect it, I put some springs right here and right here, so when this big screw went swinging back and forth like a hammer, the springs would absorb the energy, protect the whole entire mount assembly. Now when you do this, what you got to do, you take a pipe, a regular pipe,